I used to think vampires were fiction, pale creatures with fangs, hiding in shadows, hunting by moonlight. It was all novels, movies, legends passed down to scare children. But then I started reading the reports, not from the 1400s, but from 2004, from 2017, from just 2 months ago. Police statements, autopsies, archaeological digs, blood-drained corpses, unexplained disappearances, all connected by one thing: the belief that vampires are real, and that they've always been here. You're about to hear stories they don't teach in school, the ones buried by governments and dismissed by historians. By the end of this, you might start checking the shadows a little more carefully, because these stories are not only true, they're happening right now. Let's begin. In 2004, a Romanian village called Morotinu de Sus exhumed a man dead for weeks. His name was Peter Toma, and according to his family, he hadn't stayed in the ground. His niece claimed to see him at night, standing silently at the foot of her bed. One morning, she woke up with bite marks on her chest, not scratches, puncture wounds. So 6 villagers dug up his grave by night. When they opened the coffin, they found something horrifying. His lips were red, his heart was full, his body looked fresh. They pierced his chest with a pitchfork, cut out his heart, burned it in a fire, mixed the ashes in water and made the girl drink it. They called it a cure. The police called it desecration. All 6 were arrested, but not one apologized. They said the dream stopped, the girl was safe, and they swore they'd do it again. This wasn't legend. This was 2 decades ago, and it wasn't the only case. Across Eastern Europe, vampire panics never or truly ended. In a Serbian village in the early 2000s, a man died suddenly, then livestock began to die too. Children fell ill. Locals claimed to see him through the fog. They dug up his coffin and found fingernail marks inside the lid. His face twisted in fear. They staked his chest and set the body on fire. And then the death stopped. Coincidence, or a darker truth? Archaeologists in Poland uncovered dozens of medieval graves. Each one showed signs of fear. Iron sickles placed across the throat to decapitate the rising dead, stones on chests, padlocks on toes to bind their souls, some skulls placed between knees, a final trap if they ever rose again. This wasn't myth, this was routine, a war against something the villagers believed was real. And the deeper we dig, the older it gets. In Bulgaria, they found a 700-year-old skeleton with a metal spike driven through its chest. Locals didn't panic, they nodded. They said, "There are more, but not all vampires stay buried. Some are alive now. Not monsters, people. People who say they need blood to survive." In New Orleans, a man named Marcus sat across from me. He looked normal. He taught college, paid taxes. He said he had been feeding for over a decade. He didn't kill. He drank small amounts from trusted donors. And when he didn't feed, he felt like he was dying, cold, weak, fading, and he didn't enjoy it. He didn't want it. But he said it was the only thing that worked. He wasn't alone. Across the world, they call themselves sanguinarians. Not role players, real people with a craving. Some say it's physical. Others say it's energetic. In 2002, Dr. Williams published a study. He interviewed dozens of vampires in secret. They weren't insane. They weren't delusional. They were emotionally stable. Some held high-level jobs. They just had one dark secret. They needed blood, but some don't drink blood. They call themselves psychic vampires. They claim to drain energy, not fluid. One woman told me she fed by standing close to strangers. She said she felt their anxiety like heat and fed on it. When she's full, she feels alive. When she's hungry, she feels hollow. You may not believe it, but explain this. In 2017, in Malawi, people began dying. Locals blamed vampires, not metaphors, real ones. The panic spread. Mob violence erupted. Several people were killed, accused of being vampires. The government declared a state of emergency. The United Nations evacuated staff. This wasn't a myth. This was a modern crisis. And the stories get darker. In 2003, Alan Menzies from Scotland murdered his best friend. He said a vampire from a film spoke to him in a dream, promised him immortality, So he killed him and drank his friend's blood, buried the body, and began his transformation. He wasn't psychotic. He believed. 5 years earlier, in Kentucky, Rod Farrell led a group of teenagers. They called themselves the Vampire Clan. He claimed he was 500 years old. He said he needed blood. They broke into a home and murdered 2 people. Rod drank the blood from their corpses and told police he had finally fed. He didn't beg. He laughed. Still think it's a myth. Let's talk science. Porphyria is a rare disease. It causes sunlight sensitivity, blistered skin, and receding gums. Gums that make teeth appear long. Fangs. Garlic makes it worse. Sound familiar? Catalepsy is another rare condition. It mimics death. No heartbeat. No breathing. 4 hours or even days. People have been buried alive because of it. That's why graves used to have bells. If someone rang from below, they'd be dug up, or not in time. And they stayed below, waking, trapped. Still sound like fiction. In 1892, in Rhode Island, Mercy Brown died of tuberculosis. Her family began dying too. Villagers believed she was feeding from the grave. They exhumed her. She looked fresh. Her heart was full of blood. So they burned it, mixed the ashes into water, made her brother drink it. He died anyway. But the legend lived on, and so did the fear. In Paris, deep beneath the city, are the catacombs. Over 6 million corpses. Some passages are off limits. Why? Because in the 1800s, they were used by blood cults. Walls were painted in blood sigils. In 2015, a worker was found inside a restricted zone. His throat torn open, his body dry. No blood, no killer. Cameras went dark the moment he entered. The case was closed. And now we come to the coffin. Buried beneath a church in northern Italy. Sealed with concrete, chained shut with iron rings. No one knows what's inside. But every attempt to open it ends in tragedy. In 1989, archaeologists tried. Within a week one was dead. Another vanished. The chamber was resealed. But not before one photo escaped. A black and white image of the coffin's interior. A pale corpse, lips stitched shut. A spike through its chest. And symbols carved into the stone. Not Latin, not Italian. Slavic, one word. Undying. Still think it's all imagination. Then why are vampires buried the same way across countries and centuries? Why the same stakes, same rituals, same fear? Why do the stories match when the storytellers never met? Maybe vampires aren't supernatural. Maybe they're not immortal. Maybe they're just clever. Clever enough to stay hidden. Hospitals, night shifts, quiet towns. Feeding just enough, never too much. Just enough to survive. And we stopped looking. We stopped believing. But they didn't stop. They never left. History doesn't lie. It varies. The vampire wasn't invented. It was discovered. We've seen the graves, heard the witnesses, read the confessions. Now ask yourself, what if the oldest horror story in the world was never a story at all? This is Dead Time Archives, and we're not done yet. So now subscribe, because next time we dig up what should have stayed buried.